Hello guys, welcome back to the channel, to today's review where I am going to take a look at this Armida piece. Now you may have seen the unboxing video from a little while back, so this is again the packaging that you would have seen if you caught that. So Armida is a Hong Kong based company, and what I like about them is they are unashamedly declaring that right at the front of their website. So you know it's going to be Japanese Seiko and Miyota movements, but they do have some movements which are Solita and ETA, I believe, in some of their more expensive models. They do say that the watches are manufactured in Hong Kong and all of them are shipped from there. So you won't find this on Amazon, or at least I have not found this on Amazon or other retailers on the search. And this case is interesting, you know, it is a solid plastic diver's case with a bit of a connection here that you can, you know, put a string or rope through to tie it to yourself, I suppose. So, you know, nice solid rubber sealing there on the inside that you can see that will make it actually waterproof. I believe that people have tried this, and it is indeed a waterproof diver's case, and with that A Armida on the side there. So let's just put the packaging aside and show you the inside. So that's just a simple label and the basic instructions and the serial number on the inside there. Okay, and you don't really need instructions if you're a watch enthusiast for this, because it's a simple three-hand movement. Now this one, just another note, I guess a public service announcement. You got to beware to keep it on one side to make sure the watch doesn't fall out when you open this foam container, because it really is just sitting like that. I guess when you buy it new, it will be wrapped up in the protective plastic wrappings, but you know, subsequent to that, just beware of that little fact there. Okay, so here we go. Let's take a look. So what we have here is the Armida A2 black dial in two-tone, so gold and black two-tone with steel, with the NH35A movement, and that's right up front on the name of the watch in their listing there. Now, again, direct sale only as far as I have understood it to be. So the MSRP is $349 USD on the website. I think they often do have 15% discounts, at least in the recent Easter. They did have a sale, and I understand that comes on fairly regularly. So, you know, you're going to be able to get 15% off. So that roughly translates to around the $300 mark, it should be. So the movement in here, in this Armida, is the Seiko NH35A. So you've heard about that before, 21,600 beats per hour, 24 jewel movement with a 41-hour reserve, roughly speaking. So it does have the quick set date, in this case implemented at a 4:30 window, which is interesting. And that's, I guess, a white number on a black circular disc there. So, you know, it kind of contrasts against the black and doesn't stand out as a marking on the 4:30 spot. So I think that's a good choice that they've done there. And you know, this movement has hacking, and it does have manual winding as well. The case is 42mm 316L steel. It is 14mm on the thickness with 22mm lug width, which is appropriate for this size. Lug to lug distance is 51mm. And it comes in fairly hefty, actually. I have to say, you know, it feels significant in the hand, and it comes in at 175 grams, which is, you know, which is significant. It's about the same as my Oris Aquis Date, for example. So the finishing here, you will see, right? It's got the polished top and sides. So they haven't taken on the, I guess, the challenge of doing a transition between brush and polish sides, brush top and polish sides, which is what a Rolex sub would be, and with what you know, other homages have taken on. So there's something of note there. It does have a brushed bezel side though, so if you look at the bezel itself, the top surface is polished. Hopefully that comes through, but it does transition to brush finish on the side surface of the bezel there. So they've at least taken that on. The case back, of course, in this diver style watch is screw-in. And it's got an interesting pattern. I mean, if you look at the actual notches for the tool that you would use to remove it, I mean, they've got, how many there? 12 notches, you know, which is, I guess, more than the tool would have. But it's an interesting choice that they've chosen to go with. You know, this kind of like pattern as well in the middle, and then some features that they describe: 300-meter sapphire, steel, whatnot. Okay, with the crown here, and just take a look at the crown. It's got a nice etching as well. That's deeply etched A there. So it's not, I guess, a proud sign. It is actually an etched in A there. So with that screw-in crown, and of course it's going to be a screw-in crown in this design, it is rated at 300-meter water resistant. And as far as I read, they do test their watches pretty thoroughly, so I believe you can actually thoroughly trust this to perform to its water rating without much of a question here. The company do market themselves as a dive watch company, unashamedly, making quality dive watches out of Hong Kong. So that's kind of their briefing there. The dial here is, it has got a bit of a gloss there, but not too high gloss. It is noticeable when you catch it in the correct light angle. It's got applied markers with gold tone steel, I believe, and it's got that vintage style, the mill sub style diamond and baton hand. So it doesn't go with the Mercedes hands, right? There's no Cyclops date magnifier. The lume is on all the applied markers, as well as the hands, as well as the lume pip, and I'll put up a lume shot here that you can just check out for the appearance at night. It is BG W9 Super Luminova, and it performs just as you would expect it to, most of the way through the night, and still visible right into the morning when I've worn this overnight. 120 click unidirectional dive style bezel in gold tone, of course, and kind of just a classic Submariner style markings, and the quality is pretty good. I mean, hear that, right? Very, very solid, right? And almost too solid, I think, if you don't get a good grip of that coin edge bezel. It's a very nice feeling bezel, I have to say, as far as I have experienced this. The glass is actually flat sapphire with internal anti-reflective coating, so very nicely done. The bracelet here is brushed steel with a polished gold tone center link there. So the nice kind of like jewel tone finishing that you would expect in this particular piece. The links at the end, right, are solid. Right, take a look at there. You can see just the spring bars visible and the little spring bar holes there. And the actual clasp itself, a lot of the pieces are pretty decent. I mean, look at that link there. It's pretty decent, right? It's got a fairly solid dive extension, but the actual clasp housing itself is stamped. So that's probably the weakest point of the whole thing, really. Hard to pick much weaknesses. That's really just the one weakness I can pick out. Okay, so that's really the watch. Let's just put it on for a wrist shot, and then also I would say a quick shout out to Samuel Ball, who has made this available. Thank you, Samuel, for coming forward and lending me some pieces. I've already unboxed them in that unboxing video, but it's been a pleasure, using and experiencing some of these pieces. So thank you again, and look forward to more pieces from Samuel coming out later in the channel. All right, so that's the wrist shot there, 51 millimeters. So it is kind of big for my 7-inch wrist, my 17 centimeter roughly size wrist there. It kind of hangs out at the boundary of what's acceptable, I think. All right, so that's how it looks. Right, now, what have I enjoyed about this watch? Well, I think it is really well finished. I've had a very close look at this. I think the finishing of the brushing, the polishing, the fit overall, it is pretty good. I mean, look at that case back. It's got good touches with that design there, etching on the crown. It's got something else I haven't mentioned. It's got screw links. So if you look at the bracelet, right, these links are screws, right? They're not actually push pin like many watches may be at this price point. There are some watches that have gone for screws these days, but I think the majority are still push pin at this price point. So they've gone for that. It's got a very clean looking dial, and I like it how it's just got Armida automatic at the top and then 300 meter at the bottom, and nothing else really ostensibly put on the dial. It's got that sapphire. It's got a lot of good touches, and I think you're getting quite a lot of watch for the money. The bezel insert isn't ceramic, right? I forgot to mention that. But apart from that, it's not a lot that you can fault about this watch. What can I fault? Well, I've mentioned this, right? That's a weak point, that stamp clasp housing on the bracelet clasp there. But that's about it, I mean, it is an homage design, of course, right? It's not a modern sub, right? It's a vintage mill sub style. It's got that date window, but unmistakably, it does take a lot of cues from the Rolex sub. So that's not for everyone. Not everybody will like wearing an homage like this. So if that's you, well, you wouldn't choose to pick this up, would you? And then lastly, nothing about the watch itself. I think something that I guess it goes up against is price point competition. At this price point, at around the 300 to 350 price point, is pretty tight. You're going up against Seiko, which is real behemoth, right? A lot of turtle watches, samurai, baby tuna, some monster models still available at around this price or below. Huge competition. Now this does have the sapphire crystal, which I guess differentiates it and lifts it up above the Seiko models, which typically have hard mix mineral glass. But it is in tight competition at this price point. So that's just something that you have to be aware of. If you're going to throw down 350 for this, there are a lot of other models, a lot of other watches out there that you would be in your radar, in your consideration. But they do seem to command respect. So kudos to Armida for coming as far as they have. They do seem to have a lot of models, so presumably they've met with a reasonable amount of success to survive in this tight market. So guys, there we have it, the Armida A2 42mm in black gold dual tone with steel. Let me know what you think about this company, about this watch. If you have any Armida watches or experience with their brand, I would love to hear it. Guys, if you enjoy my videos, do consider subscribing. I put out new content every week, always aiming to be objective and unbiased about all things horology. Thank you again for watching, and as always, I will catch you next time.